If we stripped away the titles, the medals, etc., who's Roland Schoeman?
It's something that I struggled with a lot. If we won the gold medal and I won the silver medal in the 100 freestyle, I saw that as a failure. There's a loss of identity. Everybody in South Africa has a bad experience with the state age. I want to transform that opinion. There's potholes, the robots don't work, our internet's down, and we don't have electricity for hours and hours and hours. It's beautiful that we are so resilient, but I've seen from the other side of how we can live. Qatar reached out to my agent. It was scary money, $500,000 a year, guaranteed. Fortunately, it didn't pan out that way. And I think that's what was really hard for me because I was willing to sacrifice for myself.
Being at the top of anything is a very lonely space.
I don't ever think I was the most talented. That being said, I broke 10 world records, so there must be a talent component in it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should have to feel like suicide is the best option or the only option for them. I've had depression and anxiety. People don't know if this is happening, I can talk to somebody.
Roland Schoeman, welcome to the Blue Room.
Thanks, my friend. Good to see you.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Good couple of years. So I like to always start with people's bios
Okay.
from Insta. So Olympic gold medalist, world record holder, real estate expert, Arizona. But you're back home?
I'm back home. So I've got my license here as well. And typically come back every December, November, January, spend time with family. They're important to me. So being able to be here for Christmas, New Year, it's home. It's peace. And it affords me that. So it's something that I don't ever want to miss out on. And being in the world of real estate, I think in the States has given me a bit of an insight into hospitality and what that looks like and white glove services. And I feel like everybody in South Africa has a bad experience with the estate agents.
Yeah.
I think I want to transform that opinion.
Well, hopefully get set up here and we can keep you here.
I'd like that.
So let's just go right back to the beginning. Let's talk about growing up in Pretoria, sport, family. I mean, we met when we were about, I think you were about 13, I was about 12. So we've known each other a long time. We probably connected after school, but I mean, you've been in Arizona since what, about 19?
Yeah, so I went over a couple days, 3 days after matric. I wanted to get into the system. So I didn't start swimming until I was roughly that age. I'd always been athletic, played soccer, cricket, tennis, did athletics, played Northern Transvaal, soccer and cricket. And I think that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a cricket star. And it wasn't until I think everybody knows the story, fell in love with a girl and gone into the world of swimming because of that. And that didn't last, but something about swimming did, and which was really cool. But yeah, I was 3 days after matric, moved to the States, went to the University of Arizona on a scholarship. And I was there until 2008, straight after the Olympics, moved back to South Africa. I had agents at the time that said, you have to be in South Africa. This is where we can make you money, etc. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out that way. Moved to France in 2009, moved back to South Africa in 2010, then moved back to the States in 2011 and kind of been there and here ever since.
So what kind of feels like home?
Yeah.
Always here.
Always here. I think America has by default become home because I've spent so much time there. I've created a life there, but nothing feels quite like being around your people.
Yeah.
And I think everybody can relate to that. When you're with the people that mean the most to you and you just get those good feelings and you in a place where you can just naturally be yourself. And I think those are our people, or my people. Being around you, being around friends and family, it's the most special thing in the whole wide world. And that largely feels here.
So I've done the exact opposite of you. I've always kind of been here. With being in the States and coming back all the time, I think for a long time, South Africa was a bit in decline. Are you seeing it getting better? Are you seeing it being cleaner, things getting fixed?
It's an interesting, it's a topic that I discuss frequently. I think what being overseas has given is perspective. I think coming back here, there's a lot of tolerance. We learn to live with it. We learn to accept it. And I think, like I speak about the service industry, service in the States is incredible. And that's what sets us apart. I think it has its own issues, whatever that is, but the standards in how we treat people in business and the expectation of the government and the people around to deliver is is immense. Whereas here in South Africa, we live with it. There's potholes, the robots don't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, our internet's down, we don't have electricity for hours and hours and hours. And we just learn to, I think the beautiful thing about South Africans, we're so adaptable.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, this doesn't work. We'll get solar. We'll get inverters. We'll do this. We'll do that. So it's beautiful for us. It gives me goosebumps, but it's beautiful that we are so resilient and we thrive. But I've seen from the other side of how we can live.
Mm.
So in terms of things improving, key pockets, yes. But every time I come back, the thing that stands out to me is the attitudes of the people. Just how friendly, how amazing, how much energy, exuberance they have. That, to me, is what shows we can move forward. We can improve. I think we just need that push to be like, okay, what's happened where we are right now, there's so many improvements that can happen and should happen, and we expect this, and we're not gonna stand for anything less.
Well, I suppose that's what makes things really exciting. Do you think that's why, as a country, and we're all fans at the end of the day, do you think that's why we gravitate towards sports fans, or as sports fans, to sporting heroes? We gravitate towards, our moods, everything. If the Bucks are going well, or we've got an Olympic champion, or whatever it may be, we hugely gravitate as a country towards our sporting teams.
I've had this conversation with a couple of people, and we agree there's 3 unifying forces in this world. 1 is sport, 2 is music, 3 is food. And we have that.
Yeah.
We have incredible athletes. Like you say, the Springboks, Proteas doing well, our Olympic athletes. Like, I remember our first World Cup win. There's no color there.
Yeah.
And I think the topic of color is so prevalent in everything we do and say, and it's unfortunate, but it's the reality of this country. But when we look at the teams, the Springboks, the Proteas, when we won our Olympic medal, when Chad won his medal, when Cameron won his medal, it's like the celebration is like, this is where we can be. And then we look at our top musicians, whether, whatever the genre is, we can dance to that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the amount of weddings you go to, and there's
always in Kaligata.
Exactly. And it's always there.
And every white person thinks they can dance. And it's quite embarrassing, actually.
And we can't. But you're throwing it down. And that unifies once again. And then food. Those are the great unifiers. And we have that in absolute abundance. And I think that's special.
So I've got a question here. You've been called one of the greatest swimmers of your time. If we stripped away the titles, the medals, etc., who is Roland Schoeman?
It's something that I struggled with a lot. I think for me, like, we won the gold medal in Athens. Then I won the silver medal in the 100 freestyle a couple of days after the gold, and I saw that as a failure. And then won the bronze in the 50 freestyle, and that was even more of a failure because the 50 was my race.
Yeah.
And I looked at the mistakes that I made on the dive, and I was like, that cost me. And because of that, you'll never be remembered. So for me, my identity was linked to what I do. And, whether that's from being a kid, trying to get attention, whether it's just the way you're molded through the system to be like, the only way I can be successful is by winning. And then what happens when that becomes your identity and you stop winning? There's a loss of identity. And then in 2016, I didn't make the Olympic team, and that really stung. Very much so. It's like, well, who am I? What am I?
Yeah.
Am I not successful now? Am I a failure? And obviously the critics, they'll be like, yep, you're a failure. I was like, okay, sure. And I believed that for the longest time. But then I think what transpired over the last, since then has just been about evolution and growth. And I still find myself not quite sure of who is Roland Schoeman at points in time. And then other points, I'm like, I want to be of service. For me, that's important. whether it's, you know, in the swimming space and the high performance space, now in the world of real estate. Like I had an opportunity this morning. We were at gym, Kagiso Rabada, Akani Sambini, and just for 20 minutes, 30 minutes after the gym session, we just spoke about high performance and mentality and struggles. And to me, that sharing that information is what's valuable to me, and being able to connect with people.
Yeah.
I think more so because when I was at my best, I didn't want to share my secrets. And when I look back at it, I'm like, that's the most foolish thing that I could have done, because, and I do say that, but there were one or two people that I really openly shared with. And I think I felt a bit more um, used, because I didn't necessarily receive the same back. And maybe that was my own level of expectation.
Yeah.
But based on that, I was like, I just refused to share. And I think I could have helped out a lot more people had I done that, and maybe felt a little bit more rewarded myself.
Well, one of my questions later on, and we're going to stick on this topic, I think it's a very pertinent one, is, being at the top of anything is a very lonely space.
Mm.
By holding back that sort of stuff, it's because it's lonely. May and I always talk about, something good's happening in our lives, we can't tell anyone. Something bad's happening, we can't tell anyone. And I suppose with being a sportsman, especially from an individual perspective, your little secrets, like you said earlier about your dive let you down. So if anyone ever asked me about you, I'd just say the best dive of all time, because you literally just come up ahead every single time. It's something special. So it's for you to say that's where you lasted. So I mean, what do you think? It's lonely?
For sure. I think there's a lot of sacrifices that went into it. I mean, 3 days after matric, moving to America, moving to a country that I only visited once, uh, didn't know a lot of people, wasn't adapt to the culture, had to learn. I remember one of the first days that I was there, it was a Saturday morning. We just had a brutal workout, obviously going across November, December. It's moving into winter there. We do have our cold days in Arizona, and I'd never been to Starbucks. And a lot of the swimmers were like, hey, do you want to go to Starbucks? I'm like, oh, do I?
Yeah.
Of course, yes. I'm in a Starbucks. So we were standing in line, and this person was like, I'd like a cappuccino with half and half and blah, blah, blah. And this person was like, I want a non-fat mocha latte, blah, 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 blah. And it got to me, and the person looked at me and like, what do you want?
Coffee.
Deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Could I get a water, please? So I mean, it was just overwhelming to be in this place, but I think I had a mission. I had a goal.
Yeah.
And I missed my family. I got to see them once, twice a year, maybe. I had to make a way of life and figure it out. And I think I'm super stubborn. I can be. I think I can be really headstrong and determined to achieve something. And because of that, I just had to deal with the sacrifices. But then, I mean, you go to swim workout and you're there for 2 hours, and you don't have an opportunity to interact and speak because it's a brutal workout. Maybe in the weight room, maybe in dry land, you can interact, and maybe you date somebody here and there, or you've got some close friends, but it's still hard. I mean, I lived on my own for years and years and years, and I think you just tolerate it. You just become adapt to it, and that's kind of sad for me. It's like I say, we were adaptable. South Africans are, and we just tolerate things. And to me, I just adapted to being alone and lonely at points and not reaching out to friends. And I think that's why being home is so special for me, because I know the inverse of that, to be alone. And I think a lot of people can relate to, I mean, even if you're in a relationship, you can still feel alone.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And that's why being here is so special. And I think it's taken me a while to just accept how special it is and recognize it. And which is, I mean, I think that's one of the gifts that time gives us, is perspective. And don't think I always had it. Well, I know I didn't always have it, but fortunately getting more of it before time's up, kind of thing.
Speaking of gifts, hard work versus talent. I've always said talented kids will always do well when they're younger, but hard work will always trump talent. The best sportsman in the world, it's hard work and talent.
Yes.
You have both?
Wow. I must have. I don't think I would have gotten as far as I did without it. I mean, I remember when we were at the University of Arizona, there's this big saying in the gym that says, talent beats hard work, or no, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
And I think that is very true. I think I've always been athletic. I think that's been my strength.
Mhm.
I think what happened when I started swimming is because I started so late, I didn't have the fundamentals. And I think because I chose swimming and because I kept on choosing swimming versus somebody that started when they were 4, 5, 6, where they were forced into it
Yeah.
and just kind of did it lackadaisically, didn't focus on technique. It became repetition. For me, I saw how far back I was, and I had to pay attention to those finer details day in, day out, and have that be my routine, because that was the only way I was going to try and or the only way I was going to succeed or get better. And I mean, I did that. I like to nerd out on those things. For me, when I committed to getting better at swimming, bought VHS tapes from the States, magazines, and then I'd set up a video camera behind my lane, side of the lane, in front of the lane. Sometimes I'd have my sister in the backyard. We had an elevated, the pool was kind of low, and then an elevated edge, and I'd do starts off that, and my sister would do the videotaping for me, and I'd watch that, and I'd run upstairs, and I'd plug it in, and I'd watch what I was doing, and then I'd watch 96 Olympics with like Brendan Dedekin and Gary Hall and them, and I'm like, okay, what are they doing? And then I'd run downstairs, and I'd try a couple of things, and run back upstairs, and so for me, it was always trial and error, trying to figure things out. And I think by virtue of the fact that I'd always been athletic, I could figure a way out or figure a way through it. Um, I don't ever think I was the most talented. Um, but that being said, I broke 10 world records. So there must be a talent component in there.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't ever think I was the most talented. I think it was just a beautiful blend of curiosity, being inquisitive, being hardworking, being athletic, and just being able to push myself more than anybody thought was good.
I think you hit the nail on the head there for me, especially. I started really early. I came from a big water sports family. Started swimming provincially under 7 all the way through, but I was just lazy. So I was just the kid with all the talent and none of the hard work. And then you just see the athletes like yourself just go straight past you. And then I couldn't wait to give up swimming. It wasn't something I enjoyed. It was just something that I was kind of good at. And I think we've had the conversation before online where I just said, like, you've been a massive inspiration to me because I saw someone that used to swim the same sort of age group as me just get better and better and better, and then just put in all the hard work. So I don't think anyone will ever understand the amount of hard work that anyone that goes to the Olympics puts in. I used to hate the swimming because you're just looking at this black line on the bottom of the pool. You see the T, tumble, turn, you go again. It's just so repetitive and so bloody boring, to be frank, for me. So I probably spent 20 years just up at night going, "Oh, jeez, I wish I had like a chance at redemption, something that I could be good at." The only thing I could think of going to the Olympics for is like bowls. Because you're like, what can old people do? And
That being said, I just want to let's make a team for curling and go to the Winter Olympics, because that's kind of like bowls.
okay, who else do we
ice.
need?
I don't know. I don't, let's look into it more, because I mean, I don't know how many Summer Olympians have been Winter Olympians, and then that gives you a chance to go to the Olympics. And
How did? Oh, I'm good at pushing. Let's do a bobsled.
okay,
2-man bobsled. Can you drive? Actually, I've seen you drive.
no,
No, probably not a good idea. We'll be like the Jamaicans.
Hey, that's inspirational.
So I saw that happen. So I've spent 20 years going, shit, I've still got it in me. Now I've got the strength of mind to be like, I'm prepared to work hard. And then, these fitness racing events started to pop up. So, it's given us older chaps that are, let's call it failed sportsmen, another opportunity. I saw some the other day and I hit the nail on the head. Everyone doing high rocks, Eddie doesn't. They're failed sportsmen. And they mean it in the nicest possible way. They're all incredibly good sportsmen that never quite made it in their code, but they had all the talent. I mean, a lot of them have jumped from sporting code to sporting code. So it's almost a nice melting pot being fitness racing for either failed sportsmen or ex-sportsmen. We're getting a lot of ex-SA rugby players, et cetera, coming across. And that's super exciting. Okay, I've got a very important question for you.
Okay.
What is more important to you, Olympic medals or world records?
Olympic medals,
Really?
because that's something nobody's ever going to take away from you. Um, I mean, they say it about world records, they're meant to be broken.
Broken, yeah.
So to know that you were the fastest person in the world at any given point, and I mean, still look at it in terms of the 50 butterfly, 50 breaststroke, 50 freestyle, still top 10 in the world. Think about every single human that's ever existed in this
Yeah.
world that's ever swum those races to still be top 10. That's special
In 3 strokes.
in 3 strokes.
You felt badly at backstroke.
I know, backstroke. What a bugger. And I started originally as a backstroker.
Really?
I think having those medals, people can feel it, they can touch it, they can see it. And I think people can relate to that a little bit more than the idea of a world record. I think people know what it feels like to compete and maybe do a PR, but I feel like a world record seems almost impossible.
Yeah.
Whereas the tangible medal in your hand, putting it around somebody's shoulders and they see it and their eyes light up, you see that it's almost like that gives them a bit more belief. Whereas you can break a world record. It doesn't seem like how do I connect with that? It seems so far out there.
Yeah.
Whereas a gold medal or medal is like here. It's more internal or closer to me than something so far out.
Well, I suppose the same as you could liken it to an incredible rugby player or footballer that never won a World Cup.
Mm.
They could have been the best in the world, well and all.
Yeah.
But until you've lifted a World Cup, it's not as inspirational, I suppose.
Yes, and it is tough because we spoke about that earlier today with Akani and Kahiso. When you spend your whole life training and your goal is to win an Olympics and you walk away from that and you don't succeed or don't accomplish it, whether you were a rugby player, that's the top, the best of the best. And
Yeah.
if you walk away from that and you don't have other elements of your life intact, or whether it's business, hobbies, families, then you struggle with identity. Well, that is what I've wanted my whole life, and I haven't achieved it, and I'm a failure. And I probably think that's why you get a lot of ex-athletes in the sport, because of that competitive nature, the competitive drive, being able to be in that again. I mean, you as a younger athlete, you knew what that was, whether you felt and you identified that you were lazy or not. But that gave you some lessons going into business.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I look at my life as a swimmer, and I wanted to keep performing at the highest level for so long that I sacrificed learning how to be a businessman and build businesses. And I think that's a weakness for me.
Mm.
In swimming, I had an agent that could sell me and market me. I never learned how to do that myself, because for me, it was get the job done in the swimming pool and you'll win prize money or get appearances and whatever it was. But you had the opportunity, and other people have had the opportunity to, maybe realize, okay, this is not the direction I'm going to move in, and then build a business
Yeah.
and really do well in that. And now, because of High Rocks and Deadly Dozen, you're able to now quench that thirst again of being successful, and you are.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is you've done so in business, in life, and now again in athletics. And I think that's just a beautiful thing. And like, you've had to sacrifice, I've had to sacrifice differently, whereas I've been athletic and done that at the highest level for so long, but neglected so many other components that I need to play catch up on. I
Yeah.
feel like yet again.
I suppose you got a head start, but you don't, because you kind of, business-wise, you come immature,
Yes.
but you'll be very connected. You'll walk into a room and people know who you are. Speaking of Akani and Kahiso, I actually bumped into Akani at the Stellenbosch track literally a week ago, and he sent a message to my youngest. Just an incredible, humble human.
Very.
I think you guys as ex-sportsmen at the top, especially when you retire, maybe even while you're doing it, like where they at. I think we had Super Cease on the show the other day. Wants to go to Mr. Olympia, pro bodybuilder. And I asked him about his responsibility. And I know you said in the beginning you want to keep everything to yourself.
Mm.
I think as ex-athletes, you have a huge amount of responsibility to share your knowledge.
Mm.
I mean, on one of our first shows, we spoke about athletes creating the blueprint for other athletes to get to the title, the trophy, the gold medal, the belt, whatever it may be. I think just from a inspirational perspective, there's so many youngsters out there that look up to you guys. I mean, you always see like a pro rugby player make his debut now with
Mm.
Sia 10 years ago as an example. I'm sure you've had tons of those. I've seen tons of those on your feed where you've got Olympians now
Mm.
and you've got a picture of them when they're little
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, I think of Peter Kutsia, won with him at nationals as a tiny kid, and then won a few years ago where he's fully grown, and now you look at how well he's doing. I don't think everybody's capable of dealing with the expectation. And part of being a professional athlete is being selfish, especially in an individual sport where you know the significance. I'm not on a team where there's another 10 players or 14 other players where, if I'm at 95% or
No one to
70%,
hide behind.
no one.
Yeah.
You rely on the watch. And that's brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you grow up being that focused, at least from my experience, I think there are other people that are that focused, world champions, gold medalists, that have managed that well. I didn't, and it's something that I can only get better at. But I do think we're responsible for sharing. I think part of why we're seeing so much improvement across the board in all sports is the access to information. So whether it's YouTube, programs online. I think that's what's driving this wave of professionalism, athleticism, peak performance. But being from a small country like South Africa with a limited amount of successful male Olympians, I want to share.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to set up clinics now in South Africa while I'm home, because there's a group of youngsters that kind of know who I am, maybe a little older kids that do. And I think having been in the sport for as long as I have, 30 odd years, that I've seen a lot. I've watched a lot, spoken to a lot of people, and I have a lot of insight to give. I've done a lot of clinics in the States. I've worked with a lot of different national teams like Singapore, Canada, a bunch of others. I was head coach at the 2016 Olympics for Trinidad and Tobago. So I've seen a lot. I know a lot. And being able to share that is kind of definitely part of the process and why I'm here as well.
Who's the toughest competitor you've ever gone up against? Bearing in mind you're very much a sprinter.
Yeah. First thing that comes to mind is myself, because the doubts creep in, and when the body feels amazing and you're on, it's easy.
Yeah.
But when you're not, you're trying to hide that. You're trying to create this image. I'm on, I'm good. And going to the 2016 Olympics as a coach, it afforded me the opportunity to look from the other side. And I watched, world-renowned sprinters doing start after start after start after start. And immediately there's the recognition. He's trying to find something.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have it. And that's the battle that we face. And so that's why, in that sense, I was the toughest person that I ever had to come up against, because it was just always this mental battle. You're focusing on outcome, outcome, outcome. And as I've gotten older, it's been like, okay, the outcome's the outcome. I can't control that.
Yeah.
Processes I can control. Stretching, what I eat, what I'm doing to keep myself occupied, et cetera, et cetera. But as another person I competed against, somebody I really enjoyed competing against was somebody like Anthony Irvin, American, won the gold medal in 2000 at the Olympics, and we were always competing against each other. I'd break a world record, then he'd break a world record, then I'd break it, and he'd break it, and I'd be upset. So, I just had an opportunity to train with him, and just so naturally gifted. Not a huge work ethic, but by virtue of being so naturally gifted, it forced me to look at things different ways and try different ways to get better. And that's part of why I went and trained with him for a couple of summers, just to see what he was doing. To me, that's I felt I was always good about that because I'd always want to reach out to people. Hey, can I come see what you're doing? Hey, can I this? I always knew that I needed to learn. I think that curiosity really drove a lot of my success.
You said that straight from the beginning. That was how you sort
Yes.
of started. So you had a big offer to change countries.
Yes.
Do you just want to talk us through that? Why you
Yeah.
didn't take it?
Yeah. It's so in 2004, obviously won 3 medals at the Olympics. 2005 went to World Champs, first man ever break 23 seconds in the 50 fly. So I won the 50 fly gold medal, won the 50 free gold medal, fastest time in many, many years. Got second in 100 free, and Qatar reached out to my agent and said, "Hey, we're trying to build a team. We're trying to build a culture. We're trying to build something amazing here, and we've identified these few swimmers. We like a relay because they saw the impact the relay had. So the idea was we want a relay. We want to try and, like I say, build something." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know about Qatar." This was in 2005, so like not a lot was known. I mean, we
Mm,
knew about Dubai, but
yeah,
not a lot was known about
it's
Doha at
different
the
now.
time.
Yeah,
100%. So it was, I mean, scary money. $500,000 a year, guaranteed for a lengthy portion, a couple, at least 1.5 Olympic cycles. They'd pay all my living expenses in the States. They'd give me an apartment in Doha. I could train there when I wanted. They'd facilitate it. They'd fly me business class. They'd fly my family business class. And I I saw representing this country as just the greatest thing in the whole wide world.
mm,
And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I reached out to some top South African like sports stars, and most of them said, take the money and run. And that made me think. And so I said, how about, I spoke to my agents and I said, nah, let's say no, but if they give me $750,000 a year,
yeah.
I'll do it. So I'm like, yep, okay, we'll give you 750 a year. And I hate that I look back and think how much different things could have been if I'd accepted that. Because this was a country actively looking to build something,
Yeah.
wanting athletes to be a part of these structures. Whereas, when the news came out about that, the South African sports minister at the time and various Swimming South Africa officials were like, take the money, get out of here. We don't want you. And unfortunately, that's the attitude
Yeah.
that I think a lot of athletes feel here is just there's whether it's the political side of things, there's such a lack of support here. And that was for me the big thing.
So you vilified, but without the local support.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd hoped, I was like, what, I'm a South African through and through. I love my country. I love being here. I love representing my country. I don't know if I can stand on a podium and listen to another national anthem and feel that pride. And that's important for me.
Yeah.
Let me stay here and see if I can get sponsors here. I don't think I'm not going to get $750,000 a year, but maybe businesses will see this.
Mm,
And nobody did. And I think that's what was really hard for me because
yeah.
I was willing to sacrifice for myself. Um, and many people say, okay, well, sportsmen shouldn't move teams. But if you look at a business and you're making R1 million a year, and another business comes to you and says, hey, we love what we're doing or what you're doing. We'd love for you to come over here. We're willing to offer you 7 times that, 7 million to be involved here. It's a business decision.
Yeah.
It's different in a lot of regards because you don't have that national pride component in representing the country. But I feel like when you represent the country, you become owned by the people that support you.
Yeah.
And that was really hard.
But I think, when you are a sportsman, professional sportsman, it is your business.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you had spoken to me at the time, which I'm sure a lot of people did say to you, just take the money and go. I think unfortunately, there was no right or wrong decision whether you took it or stayed.
Yes.
And yeah, I suppose that's what you got to live with. But maybe you also didn't understand what they're trying to build at the time.
No, I think that was part of the problem. Is my agent flew to Doha. I didn't
Yeah,
because coaches didn't want me to. We were in a training block, and I think if I'd been more open to it, and I think that's part of where the business side of things was a struggle for me.
yeah,
I didn't understand business. I didn't understand. I understood emotions. I understood that side of things because that was important. You
yeah.
have to be emotional. You have to be so focused on being the best that I didn't see that other component. And
It,
maybe if I look back, and I could have maybe done far more good for South Africa
from abroad.
from abroad with that money.
Yeah,
What investment could I have gotten from the Qataris to build its training center out here if I'd done well?
yeah.
Represented them and say, hey, let's do this. Let's create a system where we can train back and forth and share knowledge. And I think, I mean, once again, it's theoretical,
Yeah.
right? But I do believe I could have achieved more for swimming in the country now through that avenue. Because
I think by you not going over, it was just purely seen as a financial transaction. Whereas when May and I go back to Pacha a couple of trips ago, the whole Qatari team was there who trained at altitude athletics. So there is a sort of symbiotic relationship. So
yes,
it was something that you could have potentially created. Um, so we are often taught as sports people to push through pain.
Mm.
Do you ever sit back just to feel it?
oh yeah. Uh, that being said, it depends on the type of pain you're pushing through. So, I mean, I've torn the ligaments in my ankle, and you try and push through that, which is not the right decision. But for me, it's always the most amount of joy. Being on an assault bike and you're doing like Tabata, and
Yeah,
it hurts so immensely while you're doing it. But afterwards, like I just did something brutal.
yeah,
And how good does that feel? Because, I mean, we say privilege, pressure is a privilege. And it's the same thing,
yeah,
being able to take your body to the max, to being uncomfortable. The more we push ourselves into being uncomfortable, the more we adapt. The
yeah,
greater the stimulus, the greater the response. And I know, like, you look at a kid and they bump their head and there's tears. Like, like now we bump our head and like, oh my, that was stupid.
yeah.
I mean, it's a different response and a far more positive response. And I think that's part of one of the things that I've really tried to ingrain in my life is if there's a stimulus, how do I respond to that? I have spoken in, with groups of people, and like somebody falls down the stairs and they complain about it, and like, oh my gosh, I'm so sore. Or somebody else falls down the stairs and says, geez, I got down those stairs very quickly. So
On
which
my
one
head.
is, yeah, which one's more empowering? Which one's
Yeah,
more positive? And obviously, I'm human, and that's not always the default,
yeah,
but trying to do that. So for me, pushing through that pain and being able to embrace that pain and laugh through that pain, because when you laugh through the pain, I think the body is going to able to go through a lot more than the mind is.
yeah,
And when you just have that moment of just laughter, so whether like driving in traffic, somebody cuts you off. I mean, you can flip the guy off and say, up yours, buddy, or whatever it is. Or you can be like, oh, dude, that's just more uplifting. And
yeah.
that takes you out of that space of that negative spiral and puts you into something that's a little bit more uplifting. So I love it. I love the pain.
I mean, movement is a privilege,
Yes.
without a doubt. Okay, so from you touched on it briefly there, physical versus mental. From what we've been hearing, and obviously knowing you a long time, the mental side's a lot more grueling than the physical. I think you enjoy the hard work, you enjoy the results, you've got the talent. Talk to us about the mental side. When you're having a really bad time mentally, who's your go-to? Who do you talk to? Or
Mm.
what tools do you have?
I've not made use of my tools enough. And I think that has been tough for me as well as the people around me. Like I remember when my dad died and was at his funeral, I was like, I'm not going to cry because I have to be strong for everybody else around me. Don't show emotion. You have to be stoic. You have to protect the people around you. And I think growing up in the sport and being a top competitor, don't show weakness. Do not show anybody else that you're human, be a machine. Because we need people to fear you. We need people to be, just concerned that you're unbreakable.
Mm.
And when you show your human side, it's like, I can exploit that.
Yeah.
That's the belief, right? I'm not saying it's true, but that was the belief. And I think over time, and I've had, my mom, my sister, my close friends, family, you know, partners in the US, where I've kept things bottled up, and I tend to withdraw when that happens. And once again, that's just my default for
Yeah.
whatever reason, but trying to be more aware of it. And yeah, last couple of days I've been going through a couple of things, and just opened up to my mom, and that felt good.
Yeah.
Because knowing myself previously, it would have been, "Ah, let me just not say anything. Let me just sit on this for a while and deal with the pain, deal with the emotions, and get away through it." So I don't think I initially had the best coping mechanisms or strategies to deal with it. I think I've gotten better over time, and I think that's the unfortunate reality is we have so many people out there that don't have coping mechanisms. So we talk about mental health and mental and awareness, and that's part of the thing is we don't have a blueprint. People don't know, well, if this is happening, I can talk to somebody. I can share. That's not weakness.
Yeah.
The strength is in the sharing, right? And I think we need more people to be able to advocate for that, for especially athletes that have been at the highest level to say, I know what this feels like. I know what you're going through.
Mm.
Open up to me. I don't want to share what you're experiencing with anybody else, but I want you to have the strategy and the mechanisms in place where you don't have to do this alone. How many people commit suicide because they feel that they're alone,
Yeah.
that they can't go anywhere else? It's like, just speak to somebody. Speak to somebody you love and trust and care about, because I don't think anybody should have to feel like suicide is the best option or the only option for
Yeah.
them. It's so final. And I think I understand it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
So I understand people that are depressed and have been through it. I've had depression and anxiety, and you learn to live with it, and you cope well, you don't cope well. So I understand it. I understand what that feels like. And I think there are better ways for us to navigate that system, right? And I think that's part of what I feel so strongly about, and what's cool to be here with you guys and understanding the theme behind the Blue Room as well. And we need more voices
Yeah.
and more ears to be able to say, hey, I care.
Yeah.
I want you to share. Like, my Instagram's open. If somebody's in a place where they feel like it's the darkest, deepest they've ever been, reach out.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very grateful that I have people in my life that have been around and are still around. A good friend of mine, Al, same thing. When things were bad, reached out to him because I know he's there.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of people we need in our lives. The people that check in on us, the people that care about us, not the people that don't.
Yeah.
I want to spend more time with those people and less time with the people that just suck energy.
Well, I always say, like, as we get a little bit older, your circles become smaller. But anyone that doesn't add value to my life is not in my life, because there's so many negative people in this world. And I think what you touched on there is, sometimes just saying it out loud, just to anybody, just is a step in the right direction.
Yes.
Because a lot of things, not so much with depression, but getting close to suicide or suicidal tendencies, it's generally a slow burn.
Mm.
And a lot of it can be hugely avoidable just by talking.
Yes.
That is the start. So getting back to this, redefining yourself after sports. Where to next for you? I know you kind of here but not here, but in the
Yeah.
States. Where would you see yourself in the next 5 years?
For me, like one of the reasons why I love real estate is because I remember being a kid, and when we were 6, my mom and dad, or when I was 6, my mom and dad got divorced, and we had to move over the home that I loved the most, right? And having lived in America and not having felt like I was home, and then buying my first home and like feeling like that was a home, but having dealt with a really bad real estate agent that put herself ahead of me and didn't prioritize me. And just, I look at the way some or realtors in the States do it and estate agents here. It's, you have the privilege to work with somebody in the biggest purchase they're ever going to do. And at no point in time should they be wondering what you do to earn the commission that you're earning, what the systems and processes are that you have in place, and the transparency.
Mm.
If an agent here is making 5, 6, 7, 800,000 Rand in a transaction, I want to know. And they deserve to know. And they deserve to be treated with white gloves. They shouldn't ever have to reach out. The person shouldn't have to reach out to the agent. Hey, what's happening? What's this? And so many people have this terrible relationship with agents, and they see Selling Sunset and the drama and everything that goes on. And I'm like, I don't want this. Why do they earn so much money? And I agree. There's so many awful agents throughout the world. And for me, I want to build that business here. I want to be able to say, I'm going to take you through the entire process. It's going to be white gloves. When you close on your house, there's a closing gift. There's follow-up. On your birthdays, you're getting a message from me. On New Year's, you're getting a bottle of champagne. The birth of your first kid, there's going to be a gift, because that is service.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what we have here in South Africa is not that top white glove service. Listening to a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. And that's what it should be. It should be an unreasonable level of hospitality where people feel they belong. So for me, the next 5 years, I want to build out my book of business here where I give people the best experience they can at the highest level. Whether you are selling a house that's 600,000 Rand, 1 million Rand, 60 million Rand, 600 million Rand, I want you to feel that you are being supported the entire way. That's one component. Continue giving back, continue speaking, continue working with high performers, whether that's through swim clinics, one-on-one work that I do, speaking engagements. I love my country. I want to spend more and more time here. I'm in a beautiful place where I have my South African passport and American passport, so I don't have to rely on a green card where I can't be out of the country for more than 6 months. So now I can travel. I can do whatever I want in South Africa. If there's business that calls in America, I can go back to business there. But I want this fluidity of being able to be home when I want, in America when I'm needed, and do that. And then start a family. I think I'd love a family.
Good. You'd be a great dad.
I hope so.
Rolls, thank you for being on the Blue Room. An
Thanks for
absolute
having me.
pleasure having you.
My friend, so good to see you. Thanks for what you're doing. And it's a beautiful space. And you create such a nice environment for people just to be able to share. And I think that's important.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.